Blessed be my witches, my spiritualists, and welcome to another episode of Witch Please. It is I, Odin the Seer, and today we are going to be doing an episode of What You Heard. Now, this one is going to be a difficult video for me because I'm going to be bringing in a bunch of different variables here that I think are very pertinent to where we're going as a collective. We think that we have progressed so much with all of these different variables, but have we really progressed? Have we really grown? Nobody wants to venture down to their dark goddess anymore. Nobody wants to understand who they are. All they want to do is inundate themselves with all of these external forces that they feel are going to bring them a certain level of happiness. And when it's not there, they cause themselves more isolation and more decaying of the soul. So today what I wanted to do is I wanted to show the Witch Please family a couple of things that might be able to put some things into focus and hopefully allow some of you to be able to put your attention on what we should be putting our attention on and drawing it back from what serves us no good anymore. Let's get started. I'm going to read some quotes. Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God, but anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. And as we live in God, our love grows more perfect, so we will not be afraid on the day of judgment, but we can face Him with confidence because we live like Jesus here in this world. Such love has no fear because perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment, and this shows that we have not fully experienced His perfect love. We love each other because He loves us first. Those are quotes taken from the Bible. It is not good for man to be alone. Let him kiss me with his kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. The real opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. Any love that depends on specific cause, when that cause is gone, the love is gone. But if it does not depend on specific cause, it will never cease. To love God truly, you must first love man. And if anyone tells you that he loves God, but he does not love his fellow man, he is lying. Who acts from love is greater than who acts from fear. That is from Judaism. Love is a gift of one's innermost soul to another so both can be whole. If you truly love yourself, you can never hurt another. The way is not in the sky. The way is in the heart. When you like a flower, you just pluck it. When you love a flower, you water it daily. Without communication, there is no relationship. Without respect, there is no love. Without trust, there is no reason to continue. Buddhism. Kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Surrender your self-interest. Love others as much as you love yourself. Then you can be entrusted with all the things under heaven. He who defends with love will be secure. Heaven will save him and protect him with love. Taoism. None of you has faith until he loves for his brother that he loves of himself. The parable of the believer in their affection, mercy, and compassion for each other is that of a body. When a limb aches, the whole body reacts with sleeplessness and fever. Whoever would love to taste the flavor of faith, let him love a person only for the sake of loving Allah. You will not enter paradise until you have faith, and you will not have faith until you love each other. Shall I show you something that if you did, you would love each other, spread peace between yourselves? My love is right upon those who love each other for my sake. My love is right upon those who visit each other for my sake. My love is right upon those who sit together for my sake. My love is right upon those who maintain relations for my sake. My love is right upon those who befriend each other for my sake. My love is right upon those who defend each other for my sake. Islam. My witches, my spiritualists. I wanted to share this for the simple fact that we need to understand that in many different faiths and many different belief structures, God is represented as love, the embodiment of love. What we fail to understand in this reality at this point is that when you cannot connect yourself with, be it love of another person or self-love, you are the furthest away from God than you will ever be. Okay? Being in hell is being away from God, because God is love. This concept has been so inundated with idealism and illusion that people no longer understand that until we get back to that, until we can understand the fact that we need to be able to love our fellow man, not in the context of they have to be like me, but in the context of they are all beings of God, of the it that created everything. Until we can understand this principle and internalize what exactly that means, we are the furthest away from God than we have ever been. The reality is, my witches, that we are moving into 2021, and love is a four-letter word. Connection is something to be feared. Trust is never given. Now let me explain something to you. I have said in previous videos that faith is given and trust is earned, but do not mistake me, my witches. What I'm saying is, you have faith in everybody, and you give them the opportunity to gain your personal trust. Faith denotes love. I love you enough to have faith that you can do anything. Now, I want to see you do with that faith what thou wilt. In my many years of study, I've come up with a concept to help better explain what the lack of love can do to the soul. The C triad. 1. Fear, the crippler. The strongest of the C triad is fear. It has the power to halt the flow of all energies and retard any opportunities for change in any situation. Now, to understand fear, one has to know the masks it wears and the power it holds. Fear is very tricky and can convince the infected host that the actions that are being taken are for the greater good. Remember, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Let's take a look at the Holocaust to get a better understanding and idea of what I'm talking about here. Most people see Hitler as a monster for his actions and atrocities. However, if you take a deeper look, you will see and realize that Hitler truly felt that what he was doing was for the betterment of the world. Hitler, during his reign, was the one who created healthcare, and the research he funded in the medical field over the decades has actually ended up helping more people than were lost. What a lot of people do not know about the Holocaust is that Hitler had very little to do with the atrocities that occurred in the concentration camps. Most people do not know that he was actually an artist. And what he truly wanted to do was just paint. Illusion seeped in, frustration and anger, disappointment and rage, all came together to create what some people view as the biggest monster of all time. Now, I am not condoning anything that was done there, right? We need to understand about fear and what that can do. Fear can take a seamlessly loving individual and turn them into a monster. If you took a look at some of the quotes, you will notice that fear was very much in a lot of them as well. I did not read a lot about anger. I did not even hear or read a lot about persecution. What I saw was love and fear, and how fear jaded love. Fear is a crippler. Because fear cripples love, it limits love. They asked 100 women and 100 men what their biggest fear was. A large proportion of the men said that their fear was to be rejected. A large amount of the women said that their fear was that a man was going to kill them. Those fears limited them from having experiences with each other. Men didn't try to say, hey, I like you, because they were afraid that they were going to be rejected. They didn't follow their heart because what would other people think? They weren't gentle and soft and caring if they needed to be, because the world had an expectation of them. Big boys don't cry. So that fear came in and destroyed any chance of there being love. For the women, the fear of not mattering enough that someone can actually not beat you to death, not getting justice. What does that do to you? How does that play on the psyche? It just reinforces the self-loathing, which is another part of the C triad. But before we go into the self-loathing aspect, we first must talk about guilt, the crusher. Although guilt does not hold the same power as fear, it still has the potentiality to break down the host's life essence. This C, usually after time, will merge with the final C of the triad. The power behind this C is its ability to weaken the host's life force energy, soul, and allow for feelings of doubt of all kinds. These illusions may include, but are not limited to, the quality of being of the host and the worthiness of the host in most situations. This C destroys the ability to have the much needed faith that the soul needs to save itself. Faith is innate to all humans, and once it is lost, the third C can take root, causing the host to eventually self-destruct. Unfortunately, the people who are closest to the host end up being brought along for the ride. This creates a vicious cycle, causing the host to isolate themselves and manifest the illusions of being alone in this reality. This C, in its purest form, convinces the soul that it has no God-given right to evolution, or that there is no God at all. When you start reaching a point where you are so riddled with guilt, you grasp at any straw that you could possibly grasp at, because you want to break down anything that is perpetuating that feeling of guilt. I'm a bad person. God couldn't love me. So then, what do? You stop believing in love. You stop believing in God. You stop believing in these things. And you stop believing in them because those things represent something that brings you guilt. Because you have an idea of what the status quo told you that you need to believe, that you need to live in this resonance to be with God. Pencils have erasers. As Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. This is the heaven of form. This is the place where we have experience. You have the experience. You learn from it. You grow from it. Loki just said something he just asked me a question. He said, do you believe, do you stop believing in God? Actually, Loki just asked the question.
What do you do instead? Like, obviously, it's not, I don't want to say it's the wrong way, but, most people stop believing in God because religion tells them that there's something wrong with them, or they're not doing something right, or, their whole being is, sinful.
They're sinners. So what they do is, because God represents things that they cannot attain or ever aspire to, because they are truly caught in this vicious cycle of feeling guilty. Oh, I've done this, so I should feel guilty. I have this view, I should feel guilty. Don't ask questions, because if you ask questions, you should feel guilty. How dare you challenge the status quo? These are all things. So people literally will walk away from the true rudimentary reason for that belief. And that is that God is love, and we are here to have an experience. The long-term ramifications that this has on the psyche is that what we need to understand is that we are all God. And because we are all God, God resides within inside of us. That is our soul. So when you start taking it from the perspective of, I cannot believe in this anymore because I feel guilty about me being who I am. You detach yourself from that loving energy. But the dogma is not the message. The true message is something completely different,
But
right?
people think that's the same thing.
They think it's the
That's
same
problem.
thing when they actually are two completely different things. Anything that is going to preach that you hate another person for whatever reason, where the fundamental aspect of it is that of, where the fundamental aspect is not that of love, where the fundamental aspect is conflict and segregation, we need to understand that is not what God is. God is love. We need to realize that. And we need to ask those questions. We need to demand answers for those questions. God gave us free will so we can ask those questions. That we can be discerning in what resonates with us and what doesn't resonate with us. This is such an important thing for people to truly understand. Okay? We have moved so far away from what is real and what is necessary. We cannot, as a race, ostracize and segregate and tear apart and belittle and destroy and even in some cases persecute and kill other groups of people and still think that we are in resonance with God because God is love.
What do you do if you are being attacked?
Defending thyself is never wrong. You don't normally learn in traditional martial arts to kill somebody. What you learn is to protect yourself. In the craft, it's the same thing, right? Yes, there are ways of being able to hurt others. But a true practitioner doesn't want to hurt somebody else. They want to protect themselves. We need to realize that segregation in any forms is going to keep segregation alive. Bigotry in any form is going to keep bigotry alive. In the instance that you're using it, you may feel justified in your actions, but we need to understand that that energy being alive can be tapped in by somebody else and used against you. Now, do you want to live your life where what's being used against you is love? Because I can tell you right now that the outcome of that is going to be beautiful. Number 3, self-loathing, the color. This is the final C of the triad and the most dangerous. It, like fear, can stand alone. However, its manifestation in the soul has a much greater effect. Once a soul has reached this point, a form of death has to occur to reset and continue one's evolution. The potentiality of this C is so powerful that it can actually break a soul down to its base matter, thus losing its consciousness. Because of this vibration, baneful entities will attach themselves to the host in an attempt to facilitate swift descent into self-destruction for the much-needed death to occur. As you can see, even demons have their place and their purpose. Now, if the will to survive is strong enough and information given accurate, one can create a rebirth of the soul in this same lifetime and proceed through this carnation gaining wisdom and power. However, if the will is weak and the wrong information is given, this person can and will descend to a point where walk-in energy will need to enter the body or physical death will have to occur. What I am saying in essence here is that you can destroy your soul. And it is not destroying your soul by way of the evil acts that you do, my witches. It's destroying your soul of detaching yourself from the most powerful force in this reality. Eleanor Roosevelt said there is so much time and so much energy that is placed on the active sins, like war, vengeance, anger, hatred, that not enough time and energy is placed on the passive sins, which are apathy and laziness, that in the long run have a more devastating effect on mankind. Love is not something that needs to be earned, honey. Love is something that should be given. It's free. It doesn't cost you nothing. But what we do is we fear loss, abandonment, being killed, being persecuted, being this, being that. That, my witches, my friends, my families, my brethren, is what halts us from being able to connect. I hear of people going out all the time to do yoga because they want to do yoga, but yet they don't even understand that the word yoga means to connect. Meditation is to connect. Religion was intended to connect. Let's connect. Let's move into the 5 with a power and a purpose of connecting, giving and receiving, loving and understanding, compassion, honor and respect. Let's take the lessons that we've learned and leave the traumas of illusion behind us. When I think of people like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, Mother Teresa, when I think of these people, I think of people who wanted nothing more for us to come together. They did not want to persecute. They did not want to ostracize. They did not want to control, and they did not want to destroy. They wanted us to connect. They understood. Buddha understood. The Dalai Lama understands that if we cannot connect, if we are going to live by fear, if we are going to make love something that needs to be worked for rather than something given, then we will destroy ourselves. And not just on this plane of existence, my witches, on all plane of existences. So save your soul, my witches. Be in the image and likeness of God. And what is God? God is love. And that is our episode for today, my witches. If you have not subscribed, you know you need to press subscribe. Join the Witch Please family and do not miss out on a thing. You can follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, as well as Facebook. You can always send me a personal email at witchpleaseofficial@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below. Don't forget to press that bell icon so you're notified when a new video comes up, because you know you don't want to miss a thing. I've said it before, my witches, my spiritualists, and I will say it again. It is a pleasure to have you in my world. It is an honor to have you in my magic. And you are always in my heart. I will see you again on another episode of Witch Please. I love you, my witches. Bye-bye. Is this not too much?
That was intense. That was fucking awesome.